So that's part of it. Oh, and specifically about our Meadowview Market and our 102 acres and stuff there. So
Okay, let's.
my question's about the 102 acres,
Okay.
because I guess there's a committee now that is going to sit and talk about, what they want to do with that and stuff. And this was after, what did I do with that home? Anyway, after we put together the book and had all the meetings last year and stuff. And now we're going to have a select group of folks,
Well,
and we're going to get
well,
together and meet for about a year and stuff to continue to talk about these 102 acres. But and I asked Jaime yesterday, I said, like, well, so this group, this committee, I think I know who the folks are and stuff, is like, are y'all taking notes? And so we can read along. Is this recorded?
yeah.
So that, and he said, no, but that to me doesn't signal like, okay, this is open and honest. This is a group of folks, and we're going to go back here and we're going to decide something, but we're not going to record what we talked about, which is how it should be if we're open and transparent. And we're not
Okay.
going to record it. And so, yeah, this is a secret group of folks that are meeting in the back room to decide to have influence over that stuff. And
Well,
I don't think that's right.
let me say this first. First of all, I think it's really important to have an advisory committee. A lot of city council members, they do projects, they do things, they don't even have an advisory committee. So let me just start off with that. I think it's important. The majority of these community members are community members that you know. There are folks in the proximity. That's Miss Balmois, whose school is literally right next to the 102 acres, right? There are neighborhood association presidents, folks who've been in the community for a really long time. So these are all folks that you know as well, right? And you can always go to them as well. They are not. I think it's important to have community insight as we're moving through this project, which we don't know how long it may take because projects like these are huge, right? But it's so important that as we're going through the process that there are folks that I could go to. They're just one advisory body. There are multiple. I can come to
Mm-hmm.
you. We have community meetings, right? So they're not the ultimate, but it's good to have a standing committee that can continue just to advise, right? But that doesn't mean that it's separate, right? Like I'm still out in the community speaking to you, listening to office hours. I'm out all the time. And that is just a subset of like voices that are important to the community, but they're not the only ones, right? I think having as many mediums as possible is so important to be an informed elected official, right? And so having an advisory committee, I feel like it's very important, but they're not the end all. They're just one committee that is providing advice while we're also going out there as well. They're providing advice on like how should we engage the community, right? So for example, we finished the opportunity constraint analysis. City staff is now working on a fact sheet. Lynette's team from community engagement, they're going to go out and kind of share a little bit about the opportunity constraint analysis. And my team and I were also working with the 102 acres because I want to hear from them. They have thoughts on like how we should do these community meetings. Everyone has thoughts, different ways of how we should do these community meetings, right? But it's important for me to hear from members of the community about like what should this look like, right? As we're going back out to talk about the opportunity constraint analysis, that's really key. And so they're like an advisory body, which I think it's really important to have. As I shared with you, elected officials do these projects and they don't even have advisory committee. But for me, that's important because I want to be able to lean on folks that, and they're one part, like I shared with you, there are folks in the community that I speak to all the time that also provide input, and there'll be ample time for people to provide input. In terms of like meeting, I believe we do take notes during the meeting, or my staff takes notes, so I can follow up with Asia because she's the point on that. And if folks want to see the notes, sure. Like we usually have like action steps, what we're gonna do next. So happy to share the notes as well if folks want to see it. Because I feel like we're pretty open and transparent. It is an advisory committee. If someone wants to come and just attend and watch and listen, sure, I'm always open to that as well. And so just wanted to share that with you.
So, and again, in the interest of openness and transparency and stuff, well, if it's a committee, and I'm all for the committees, I agree that we should have these committees
Yeah,
and formal stuff like that, but it also should be some minutes taken because we can see what's discussed. If you're not on the committee and stuff, at least we can see, okay, this is what they discussed and what they talked about. And if I know somebody on the committee, I know what they talked about, and I could go and talk to them and say, like, hey, I see you guys talked about this. Why don't you bring this up and stuff? But
yeah.
absent that, well, what did you guys talk about? I don't know. And you got folks on the committee who are like, oh, I guess it's a secret and something like that. But anyway, those should be that should be open also. Even committees, I'm fine with that stuff. But
Okay.
the minutes of what we're discussing and some kind of recording of what goes on and transacts there and stuff means that okay, well, we can see what they're talking about there. You know.
Okay.
So And that's on both of those, the 102 committee, and I learned last night from the folks that came and gave a presentation at the Meadowview Neighborhood Associate meeting that at the earliest to break ground or do something at the earliest, optimistically, they're thinking about 2028. Now, I don't know what that looks like on your end and stuff, but that's what they said. And so 2028 is like, well, that's a long way off there and stuff. We're in 2024. It's better get started earlier rather than later, but still, we're a long way out. But whatever the process is leading up to that, we also need to be kept aware. And if we're going to have a standing committee for the next 3-5 years or whatever it takes and stuff, that should be, in my opinion, that should be a transparent, visible to us that work here and stuff. Because one of my other gripes is about how information flows into and through our community and stuff. And so my last part, I got 10 more minutes, was so you guys put out information about things that are going on in the community. Jaime sends stuff out, people send stuff out, all that kind of stuff there. When you funnel stuff through the Meadowview Neighborhood Association, you're assuming that it's going to go out to all the rest of the folks that are interested. And what I'm saying is that doesn't always happen. And also the Meadowview Neighborhood Association are not the people who are paid and who are most responsible for getting that information out there. So the simple request that I had was like, hey, when you send some stuff out that goes out to the Meadowview Neighborhood Association, I know how email works. Just put my email address in there and send it to me at the same time, because it's better for more folks to have the information than just one person to have it, and then we're hoping that they send it out.
Well, I guess it depends on what information, because here's the thing.
Just the regular event information. I'm not talking about just when we have events, when we got this going on, market stuff, the stuff that needs to go to everybody.
So all of the information that Jaime shares usually goes out through our newsletter, and that means if folks are on our newsletter, they're getting that information. Because what we also hear from community is like, hey, you're sending too many emails, right? And so we want to make sure that we're not, because when you send out too many emails, nobody's opening those emails too. I'll just be honest. I hear that from people all the time. Like, there's too many emails going out. No one's reading them.
I'm not saying that. And so, whatever you send to, and I'm just asking, whatever you send to the Meadowview Neighborhood Association, I live in Meadowview too. So whatever you send to the Meadowview neighborhood, I'm on that list because I get the newsletter too. But whatever you send to them specifically, because I get stuff from Meadowview Neighborhood Association, some of the stuff is on the newsletter, some of it is not. Some of the stuff is in between. It's a simple request. Whatever you send it to them, can I please get sent that also? That shouldn't take a whole lot of preparation or process to do that.
I don't think it takes a lot. What I will say is I want to respect every neighborhood association, right? And if I'm going to send an email to Jesse, then the team should send an email to Jesse. If you would like that same information, I can request Jaime to also say, hey, I don't know about putting that email, but we can send, hey, here's the email that I'm going to share. If you want that email, like say, hey, here's the things that we share at Meadowview. If you want to see it, I can follow up with Jaime to see, hey, make sure you get it too. But I also want to,
yeah, because the stuff has to do with Meadowview. It's events going on in Meadowview. It's things going on in Meadowview.
Is it because you're not getting all the information when Jaime sends it to Mr. Reese? Are you saying that
that's what I'm saying there? I just said that. So it goes to the Meadowview Neighborhood Association. Most of the time I get it. Most of the time I do, but sometimes I don't. Sometimes I'll get it later on. I don't know whether that's because of whatever problem that is, but what could remedy that easily